My name is Avery Grayson and I'm 30 years old. I work as a software developer in Cascadia Bay, a bustling coastal city in Northern California, where tech startups bloom like wildflowers along the cliffs. Life had been chugging along smoothly, coding apps by day, unwinding with ocean views by night, but tonight felt like the start of something monumental. I couldn't stop grinning as I scanned the softly lit interior of the Tide Room, a sleek waterfront venue with floor-to-ceiling windows framing the Pacific. Everything was flawless. The candlelit tables, the hum of acoustic guitar drifting through the air, the salty breeze mingling with the scent of fresh orchids. Tonight was our engagement party, and after 4 years together, Jasper and I were finally stepping into the future. In 4 months we'd be married. Jasper stood beside me, tall and steady as always, his hand resting lightly on the small of my back, warm through the fabric of my dress. I met him 4 years ago when he joined the analytics team at Nexus Labs, the tech firm where I code. We clicked during a team-building hackathon, him crunching data, me debugging interfaces, and from there, it was effortless. He's thoughtful, reliable, brilliant. Together, we'd built a life on mutual respect, trust, and a shared dream of a home with a view. Tonight, our closest friends and family filled the room to toast our engagement. I glanced around, spotting familiar faces beaming back. Coworkers from Nexus Labs, college buddies from UC Davis, Jasper's parents chatting by the bar, even a few cousins I hadn't seen in ages. My family was there too, or most of them. My parents, Marlene and Henry Grayson, sat near the front, their smiles tight, almost rehearsed. My younger sister, Sophie, slouched beside them, scrolling her phone like she'd rather be anywhere else, probably her 4th device this year, given her habit of losing them. We'd never been close, and the gap had only widened over time. Still, I brushed off the unease. Tonight wasn't about old grudges. It was about love, commitment, and the road ahead. Or so I thought. Marlene stood, tapping her wine glass with a spoon, the chime cutting through the chatter. Conversations hushed, and all eyes turned to her. "Can I have everyone's attention, please?" she said, her smile thin, not quite reaching her hazel eyes. "First, I want to congratulate my lovely daughter Avery, and her wonderful fiancé Jasper. May your marriage be filled with love, joy, and happiness." Polite applause rippled through the room, glasses clinked, and Jasper squeezed my hand under the table. I smiled at him, warmth flooding my chest. But then Marlene's tone shifted, cooler, sharper. "I also have an important announcement," she said, setting her glass down with a deliberate clink. "After discussing it with Henry, we've decided to give Avery's $45,000 wedding fund to Sophie instead." The room froze. I blinked, sure I'd misheard. A nervous laugh slipped out as I glanced around, waiting for someone to join me. "That's a good one, Mom," I said, keeping my voice light. "But that money's mine. I'm not handing it over." Marlene's smile vanished, her lips pressing into a hard line. "This isn't a joke, Avery," she snapped. "Your sister's getting married a few months after you, and she needs it more." Heat surged to my face, my stomach knotting. "What are you talking about?" "That's my money, Mom. You and Dad gave it to me. It's in my account." "Honey," she said, her voice dripping with fake patience, "you've got a solid job. So does Jasper. Sophie and her fiancé are struggling. She deserves a beautiful wedding too." My hand shook as I pushed to my feet, trying to steady myself. "We've already planned our wedding with that money. We've been smart, budgeted every cent. We're even saving part for a down payment on a condo. You can't just take it." Sophie shoved her chair back, nearly spilling her drink, and shot up. "Don't be so selfish, Avery," she hissed. "You could have offered to share it ages ago. You know I need it more." I turned to her, jaw tight. "This isn't about need, Sophie. It's about what's fair. I planned ahead. You burned through your fund, and now you expect me to fix it." "She lives simply," Marlene cut in, her voice rising. "She doesn't have much, and her fiancé's doing his best. You've always had more." "I've always worked harder," I fired back, crossing my arms. "I saved. I followed the rules. I don't care how you twist it. I'm not giving up my money." The air thickened with tension. Jasper's hand brushed my arm, a silent anchor, but I couldn't back down. Then, in a moment that stretched like a slow-motion reel, Marlene stepped forward and slapped me hard across the face. The crack echoed through the Tide Room, sharp as a gunshot. My head jerked to the side, my cheek blazing. eyes stinging with shock and tears. The room went dead silent. Even Sophie's mouth dropped open. I turned back to Marlene, my voice low but firm. "You don't get to hit me just because I said no." A gasp came from a nearby table. Then faintly I heard a waiter by the bar murmur into his phone. "Yes, hello, I need to report an assault. It just happened at the Tide Room." Sirens wailed in the distance within minutes, cutting through the stunned hush. Guests shifted uncomfortably, some staring at me, others at their plates. My cheek throbbed, but the betrayal stung worse. Jasper stood beside me, his jaw clenched, while Henry tugged Marlene aside, whispering urgently. 2 officers strode in, badges glinting under the venue's soft lights. One approached me. "Are you the one who was assaulted?" I nodded, still dazed. The waiter stepped up, recounting how Marlene had struck me in front of everyone. Marlene protested. "It's a family matter." But the officer cut her off. "Assault in public isn't a family matter. It's a crime." They asked if I wanted to press charges. My pulse hammered, but I said, "Yes, I do." They cuffed Marlene right there, her face a mask of fury and disbelief as they let her out. Sophie gaped at me like I'd betrayed her, not the other way around. Henry trailed after them, silent. Jasper never let go of my hand. Later, after filing a report with my lawyer, I pursued charges. Marlene was released on bail the next day, but the legal wheels were turning. Weeks later in court, the judge reviewed witness statements and venue footage. Undeniable proof. Marlene was convicted of misdemeanor assault. A $2,000 fine, anger management classes, and 6 months probation. She dodged jail with a suspended sentence, but her eyes wouldn't meet mine. I stood and said, "I didn't expect this from my mother, but no one's above the law." The rift widened. Marlene didn't call, Sophie blocked me, Henry stayed mute. Then came the real blow. A lawsuit from my parents, claiming the $45,000 was for college, not mine to keep. I laughed at first. It had been in my account since I was 19, a gift with no strings. I'd used it wisely, Sophie hadn't. Now they wanted it back. Understand. 3 weeks after the engagement party, I came home to our Cascadia Bay apartment, a cozy rental with a sliver of ocean view, and found a thick envelope wedged in the mailbox. The return address read Vance and Porter Law Group, and my stomach sank. I tore it open, scanning the legal jargon. Marlene and Henry were suing me for control of the $45,000 fund, claiming it was earmarked for college and that I'd misappropriated it. I laughed. A sharp, bitter sound because the absurdity was almost comical. That money had been mine since I was 19, transferred into my personal account from a custodial fund my parents set up when I was 17. They'd told Sophie and me back then, "It's yours to use as you see fit once you're adults." I'd been practical, paid part of my UC Davis tuition, covered the rest with a scholarship, and let the rest grow in a savings account for my future. Sophie, she'd blown hers on a flashy coding boot camp she quit halfway through, then sunk the rest into a failed app startup, complete with a glitzy launch party and a leased Tesla she couldn't afford. When it tanked in 6 months, she had nothing left but debt and a designer wardrobe. Now, because her fund was gone, they wanted mine. I hired an attorney the next day, Brianna Tate, a cool-headed litigator with a reputation for cutting through nonsense. She reviewed my documents, bank statements, old emails from my parents confirming the gift, and leaned back in her chair. "They've got no case, Avery," she said, her voice steady. "It's legally yours, no restrictions. Any claim about a verbal college-only rule won't hold water without proof." I nodded, relief mixing with anger. "Then why are they doing this?" Brianna shrugged. "Some people would rather tear you down than own their mistakes, especially when they're shielding someone else." It clicked then. This wasn't just about money. It was Marlene papering over Sophie's failures by punishing me for succeeding. The favoritism I'd felt my whole life, Sophie's tantrums excused, my hard work ignored, had a price tag now, $45,000. The lawsuit consumed everything. My days at Nexus Labs blurred into nights of legal emails, filings, and discovery requests. Jasper and I poured over budgets, delaying wedding plans as lawyer fees piled up. Every court appearance was a gut punch. Marlene and Henry sat stone-faced beside Sophie, who smirked like she'd already won. In one hearing, Sophie took the stand, claiming the fund was always for college. Brianna stood calm as steel. "Did you use your entire fund for college, Miss Grayson?" Sophie faltered. "Not all of it," she mumbled. "In fact," Brianna pressed, "you dropped out of your boot camp and spent the rest on a business that failed, and a Tesla, correct?" Sophie's face tightened. "That's not relevant." "It's very relevant," Brianna countered. "If there were strict conditions, why face no consequences for breaking them?" Sophie had no answer, and the courtroom felt the weight of her silence. My parents' bias, her recklessness, their desperation. It was all spilling out. Outside court, Jasper was my rock. He sat through every session, held my hand through every low, and reminded me why we were fighting. "This isn't just about the money," he'd say. "It's about you." But it wore me down, sleepless nights, tears between coding sprints at work. I'd built my life on discipline, on earning what I had, and they were clawing at it. Then it got worse. One evening I was debugging a client app when my cousin Tara called. "Avery, I'm so sorry about the wedding being canceled," she said, her voice soft. My heart stopped. "What?" "It's still on." A pause. "Your mom told me last week you and Jasper split, that he cheated." I nearly dropped the phone. Within an hour, 3 more calls came, friends, an aunt, a coworker, all confused about the canceled wedding. Someone had sent fake emails from an address mimicking mine, announcing the end of our engagement. I checked my sent folder, nothing. It was a forged account. My gut screamed Sophie. No proof, but the pattern fit, petty, personal, spiteful. I called my Aunt Clara, Marlene's sister, and one of the few neutral voices left. "I was about to call you," she said, sighing. "Marlene's telling people you're lying about Jasper, that you're unhinged and the wedding's a sham." I slumped against the wall. "Why?" "She's protecting Sophie," Clara said gently. "Always has, even when Sophie's wrong. Now she's trashing you to make Sophie look better." The betrayal sliced deeper than any lawsuit. My own mother was smearing me to prop up my sister. Jasper walked in, saw my face, and demanded answers. I showed him the fake emails, then he dropped his own bomb. "Sophie texted me today," he said, jaw tight. "Said she had proof you cheated." He showed me blurry photoshopped pics. My face slapped onto some woman's body next to a random guy. It was amateurish, laughable, but it stung. "My parents got them too," he added. "Your family's trying to burn us down." We fought back. We hired security for the wedding and gave them photos of Marlene, Henry, and Sophie. No entry, no exceptions. It gutted me to lock out my family, but they'd left me no choice. The wedding day dawned crisp and bright, an outdoor venue just outside Cascadia Bay. White chairs on a bluff overlooking the sea, a driftwood arch draped in lilies. I stood in the bridal suite, adjusting my veil, nerves buzzing not from vows but from what might go wrong. At 2:15 a guard knocked. "Miss Grayson," he said, voice low. "We detained a woman at the service gate. Matches your sister's photo." My pulse raced. "Sophie." He nodded. "Alone with a tote bag. Inside was a can of black spray paint." I froze. The dress, the arch, the guests. She'd meant to vandalize it all. "Press charges?" he asked. I wavered. After the slap, the lies, the lawsuit, now this, I had every right. But it was my wedding day. "No," I said flat. "Just get her off the property. Check for my parents too." He left and I sank into a chair, fighting tears. My best friend Mia knelt beside me. "What happened?" I told her, voice shaking. "Sophie tried to ruin it with paint." Mia's eyes flashed. "That means you've won. They couldn't stop you, so they tried to wreck it. But you're still here. Go marry Jasper, you've earned this." I wiped my eyes, stood, and let my Uncle Paul, Henry's brother, walk me down the aisle. Jasper waited under the arch, his gaze steady, and the chaos melted away. We vowed strength, loyalty, love. When the officiant said, "Husband and wife," the crowd roared. The reception was joy, laughter, music, Mia's toast that left me teary with pride. Sophie failed. They all did. Under a starlit sky, Jasper and I ran through a rice shower, grinning free. Here's the third segment of Avery Grayson's transformed story, continuing from the wedding day and wrapping up the narrative. This section aligns with the original's resolution, Sydney's wedding success, Chloe's lavish event, and the aftermath. reimagined in Cascadia Bay's tech world with Avery, Jasper, Marlene, Henry, and Sophie. It's written in American English for a U.S. audience, exceeding 1,000 words as requested. Since this feels like a natural endpoint, mirroring the original's close, I'll pause here and let you decide if it's complete or if you'd like further expansion with continue.
Understand
The reception stretched into the night, a blur of clinking glasses, warm speeches, and the kind of laughter that heals. Mia's toast, to Avery and Jasper, who turned storms into strength, hit me hard, the good kind of tears spilling over as I squeezed Jasper's hand. Guests raved about the venue, the bluff's golden glow at sunset, the ocean breeze rustling the lilies, and kept saying how happy we looked, how real it all felt. A few had caught wind of the drama. Sophie's paint stunt whispered through the crowd, but they respected our silence. My cousin Paul, who'd walked me down the aisle, leaned over during dessert. "You did right standing tall," he said quietly. His words lingered as the last song played, a slow dance with Jasper under string lights. When it ended, we slipped away, racing through a shower of rice tossed by friends, piling into our car with giddy grins. I glanced back at the venue's fading glow. Sophie had tried to douse it in black paint, but she'd lost. They all had. Our honeymoon was a 3-week escape to a sleepy beach town down the coast, sun-soaked days, crashing waves, no legal filings or family shadows. I let myself really breathe for the first time in months. Jasper and I walked barefoot on the sand, ate fish tacos from a shack, and planned a life untainted by the past. Back in Cascadia Bay, we settled into our apartment, redirecting the $45,000 fund exactly as intended. A perfect wedding, simple, intentional, ours, and the rest toward a down payment on a condo just outside the city. With our tech salaries, me coding at Nexus Labs, Jasper analyzing data, we swung the mortgage easily. It wasn't huge, but it was ours. A balcony with a sea peak, walls we painted ourselves, a couch we'd saved for. One Sunday, as we wrestled with a bookshelf, Jasper laughed. "Who's our first guest?" I paused, screwdriver in hand. For a split second, I pictured Marlene and Henry, maybe Sophie, showing up with apologies, but I shook it off. "Someone who gets us," I said, smiling. "That's enough." A few weeks later, I bumped into my cousin Tara at a coffee shop. After a quick hug, she smirked. "Heard about Sophie's wedding?" I raised an eyebrow. "We don't talk." "Your parents took out a massive loan," she said. "It's at the Cliffside Resort, over the top. Imported DJ, custom cocktails, the works." I chuckled. Of course they'd gone all in for Sophie, debt be damned. "You going if she invites you?" Tara asked. "She tried to trash my wedding with spray paint," I said dryly. "So no. No invite ever came, but family gossip trickled in. Several relatives skipped Sophie's big day, uneasy about how I'd been treated. Some sent polite regrets. Others called it out. The shine was fading from Marlene, Henry, and Sophie, even if they wouldn't admit it. Life with Jasper found its groove. Weekends were for decorating, hanging wedding photos, tweaking code for fun, building a home step by step. Holidays passed quietly. No calls, no texts from my immediate family. My birthday came and went without Marlene's usual sing-song voicemail, and it stung at first. But then I'd remember. The slap at the Tide Room, the lawsuit, the fake emails, the Photoshop lies, the paint can. The hurt dulled into something clearer, relief. Jasper asked once over coffee, "Think they'll ever come around?" "Maybe," I said, honest. "But it'd take more than words. It'd take change, and I don't see it." Sophie's wedding happened eventually, a spectacle by all accounts. Fire dancers, a rooftop venue, bridesmaids in couture. But the loan's fallout spread fast. Marlene and Henry scrambling to pay it off, their savings gutted. They'd bet big to outshine my selfish win. But people remembered the truth. As our marriage deepened, I saw what family really meant, not blood but choice. Jasper steady through every blow. Mia fierce with her toast. Paul, Tara, Clara. Relatives who'd picked honesty over loyalty to Marlene's script. I'd lost a lot, sure. Parents I'd once idolized, a sister I'd tried to love, but I'd gained more. A husband who'd faced the fire with me, a home we'd earned, a life we controlled. The $45,000 wasn't just cash, it was freedom. Freedom from guilt, trips from manipulation, from a family that tied love to surrender. I'd fought for it, not out of spite but dignity, and I'd won in court and beyond. Months later I was at Nexus Labs, pitching a new app feature, when my phone buzzed, a text from Clara. Saw your mom at the store. She asked about you. I stared at it, unsure what to feel. What did you say? I typed back. That you're thriving, Clara replied. She didn't respond. I set the phone down, a faint ache surfacing then fading. Thriving, yeah, that fit. Work was good, my team lead now, a raise in the works. Home was better, Jasper and I plotting a trip to Japan, our condo slowly becoming us. If Marlene wanted to reach out, she knew where I was. But I wasn't waiting. Sophie's wedding pics hit social media eventually. Glossy, excessive, a stark contrast to our quiet joy. Comments were mixed. Gorgeous. Alongside, where was Avery? The cracks showed even online. One night, Jasper and I sat on our balcony, the Pacific a dark shimmer below. He nudged me. Regrets. I thought of the slap, the paint, the lies, then the rice shower, the vows, this life. None, I said, leaning into him. We built this. They couldn't take it. He grinned. Damn right. The lawsuit had faded. Brianna crushed it, the fun stayed mine. The slap's echo dimmed. Marlene's probation ended, but her silence didn't. Sophie's chaos receded. Her wedding a memory, her debts not my problem. I'd stood up, not just for the money but for me, for Avery Grayson, who'd coded her way out of their shadow and into her own light. Their world had crumbled under its own weight, and mine? It was rising steady and sure, a beacon they couldn't dim. The next morning I got an email from a tech blog, Cascadia's rising star. Avery Grayson on love, code, and cutting ties. They'd seen the wedding buzz, dug into the drama and wanted my story. I hesitated, privacy mattered, but then thought of every kid like me, dismissed by family, doubting their worth. Yes, I typed back. The piece ran a week later, raw and real. Messages poured in, strangers, coders, women who'd fought similar fights. You gave me hope, one said. I smiled, filing it away. Marlene's empire of control was ash, and my life with Jasper, our love, our home, our future, was the sun breaking through. The reception was everything we'd dreamed. Laughter spilling over the bluff, Mia's toast drawing tears and cheers, the ocean breeze weaving through the night. To Avery and Jasper, she said, glass raised, who turned chaos into something beautiful. Guests kept saying how perfect it felt. The sunset painting the venue gold, the lilies swaying under string lights. A few whispered about Sophie's paint stunt, but no one pressed. My cousin Paul murmured over cake, proud of you for holding your ground. As the last dance faded, Jasper and I bolted through a rice shower, friends whooping, and peeled out in our car, grinning like we'd stolen the stars. I glanced back at the glow. Sophie's sabotage had failed. They'd all failed. Our honeymoon was 3 weeks of peace down the coast. Sand between our toes, waves crashing, no echoes of lawsuits or lies. We returned to Cascadia Bay and poured the $45,000 into our vision. A wedding that was ours, not theirs, and a down payment on a condo with a sea view balcony. With our Nexus Labs salaries, the mortgage was a breeze. We built it slow, painted walls, hung wedding photos, wrestled with IKEA shelves. One night, Jasper laughed mid-assembly. First guest. I shrugged off thoughts of Marlene or Sophie. Someone who's earned it, I said, and he nodded. Weeks later, Tara cornered me at a cafe. Sophie's wedding, your parents took a loan. Cliffside resort, total extravaganza. I smirked. Typical. You going? She asked. After the paint can? Nope. No invite came, but gossip said relatives bailed. Some quiet, some loud, sick of the favoritism. Life settled into something solid. Holidays passed without a peep from Marlene, Henry, or Sophie. My birthday was quiet, no call from Mom, and it ached then eased. I'd recall the slap, the lawsuit, the fake emails, the paint, and clarity took over. Jasper asked once, "Think they'll change?" Maybe, I said. But it'd take more than sorry, and they're not there. Sophie's wedding hit, champagne towers, a DJ flown in, debt piling up. Family saw through it. Some skipped, others whispered about the loan. Marlene and Henry sank everything to outdo me, but it flopped, people remembered. Jasper and I grew stronger, weekends coding side projects, planning a Japan trip, making our condo home. The lawsuit. Brianna buried it, the fun stayed mine. The slap? Marlene's probation ended, her silence didn't. Sophie's chaos? Her wedding faded, her problems not my burden. One morning a tech blog emailed, Cascadia's rising star. Avery Grayson's story. They'd caught the wedding buzz, sniffed out the drama, wanted my take. I said yes, not for fame but for anyone dismissed like I'd been. The piece dropped, raw, real, and messages flooded in. You're why I kept going. I filed them away, smiling. Marlene's empire of control was ash, and my life with Jasper, our love, our home, our future, was the sun breaking through. I'd stood up, won, and built something they couldn't touch.